Once upon a time, there was a man that lived in a village. He lived alone in a little cottage and worked in a restaurant which was nearby. Every morning he woke up, ate breakfast, brushed his teeth, and went to work. He always went the same way. When he finished work, he always went the same way back and had a few beers with his friends. One day, he thought that he would take a little detour to work. So he got up extra early so that he could have his time to look around the area that he lived in. He walked a bit until he came to a beautiful villa. He walked up to the villa to see who lived there, but despite his knocking, no one answered. But he was so curious that he peeked into the keyhole. There, he saw a very beautiful ballerina dancing very beautifully. He stood there for a long time, just watching. It was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. Then he had to hurry to work so as not to be late. He thought that after work, he would go there and watch the dancing ballerina again. And as said, he went back to the villa and looked once more into the keyhole. But the ballerina was not there. All he could see was a red glow. It was strange, he thought, but there was nothing that could be done about it. So he went back and had a few beers with his friends and told them the whole story of the beautiful ballerina. Then one of his buddies looked at him and said, "Have you never heard of the ballerina with the red eyes?"
My sister Lily never liked me. She'd often say it was because I had everything. The largest room, the latest fashion, the nicest hair, while she was stuck in the tiny box room wearing hand-me-downs. I understood her anger, but it wasn't like I asked for any of it. Fast forward a few years, and we were both in high school. I had my circle of friends, but Lily remained an outsider. Then one night, she snapped. She snuck into my room whilst I was asleep and cut my hair. When I woke up, I was furious, but Lily had already left. I covered my hair and headed off to school, ready to confront her. I looked for her all day, but she was nowhere to be found. After school ended, I waited outside in our usual spot, but she didn't show up. It was getting late, so I decided to go home without her. My parents were worried.
Where were you?
I was waiting for Lily. Is she bad?
Who's Lily?
Lily, my sister.
Lily? You don't have a sister?
Then who's that?
I'm letting this filter.
Lee. There was a little girl named Emily. Emily was very quiet and never spoke to anyone. However, she did have one friend, Lola. Emily didn't actually talk to Lola directly. She communicated with her through a notebook, and Lola didn't mind. One day, Emily didn't come to school. Lola, confused, asked some teachers about her. The teacher replied,
Emily? Lola, there's no student named Emily at our school.
Lola stood there, her face frozen in shock. Leonore and Harry were driving home after a date when they spotted a young woman urgently waving them down on the side of the road. The woman ran up to his window.
Oh, thank God. My stupid car just crapped out on me. Can you please help me get it started again?
Harry went to check the woman's car, but moments later she lunged at him. Leonore, witnessing this from the car, screamed and dialed 911. However, as the line rang, she heard a knock on the passenger window. She froze and slowly turned around to look. After receiving Leonore's distorted phone call, police were dispatched to the scene. Their car was found abandoned by the side of the road, but the couple were never seen again. No one knows what happened to them, so nobody thought twice about stopping to help a girl in need.
Leave your ideas below, and maybe the next story will be one you help create.
Lucy's family decided to go on a vacation to a famous beach. When they arrived, they were shocked to see that the ocean had turned blood red. Lucy felt uneasy and warned her family not to go near the water. But her mother, an adventurous and carefree person, dismissed her concerns, insisting it was just a natural phenomenon. Lily, Lucy's younger sister, was curious and wanted to swim, while their father saw no issue with it. During dinner, Lucy refused to join them in the water and warned again.
That's not normal ocean water. Mom, please don't go in there.
Her mother smirked and replied,
You're just letting your imagination get the best of you. Don't ruin this vacation with your fears.
After dinner, Lily was the first to rush to the ocean and mysteriously disappeared. Their mother and father quickly dove into search for her, only to be pulled under the red waters themselves, leaving Lucy horrified. Lucy tried calling the police, but there was no answer. The silence was deafening, and the crashing waves seemed to swallow every trace of hope. She looked out at the ocean, spotting her mother and sister's silhouettes on the surface. But as she approached, they vanished, leaving only pools of blood drifting on the tide. Lucy returned to the house, thinking she was safe. But that night, she dreamed of voices calling out from the ocean, pulling her toward the water. The dream ended with cold hands dragging her into the crimson depths. In 1981, my family decided to rent a vacation cabin in a small forest town. Cabin 28 looked ordinary, but the locals gave us strange looks when they learned where we were staying. Some even whispered,
Be careful with that cabin.
On the first night, I couldn't sleep. Strange noises echoed from the forest, like the dragging of footsteps. I thought I was just imagining things. But by the third night, everything became clearer. I began to hear knocks at the door in the middle of the night, soft and steady. When I opened the door, no one was there. But on the ground, I found an old piece of paper with a single message scrawled on it.
I think you're safe here.
Panicked, I woke my family. My father, trying to stay calm, told everyone to gather so we could discuss what to do. But just as he stood up to close the door, a chilling whisper rose from behind him.
It's time to pay.
The next morning, I spoke with a local resident and learned that in 1981, a family had been brutally murdered in that very cabin. Strangely, the children of the family survived. But the youngest daughter went missing and wasn't found for years until her body was discovered deep in the woods. That night, we decided to leave, but the car wouldn't start. In the dark, we saw a figure standing silently at the edge of the forest, staring at us. Though the figure didn't move, the whispering continued in my mind.
You'll never escape. I recently moved into a new apartment and quickly became friends with the guy who lives next door. As our feelings for each other grew, strange things started happening. Objects in my apartment would change positions, and I always felt like someone was watching me. One night, while we were watching a movie together, I heard a strange noise coming from the bathroom. I went to check and discovered an old photo of him hanging on the wall with the words, "No one can have him." I asked him about the photo, and he looked frightened. Suddenly, a dark figure appeared before us, its eyes glowing with fiery rage. It was the ghost of his ex-girlfriend, who had died mysteriously, jealous of our relationship. As the dark figure moved closer, I heard a familiar laugh. I turned around and saw Harry standing behind me, wearing a cold smile.
She's gone, but you can't leave you, can you?
And in that moment, I realized the horrifying truth. The person standing next to me wasn't the real Harry. It was his ghost, who had died long ago, now occupying my body. It was a stormy night, and I had missed the last bus home. With no other options,
What would you do if the only place to seek refuge was not safe?
I checked into a small, old hotel near the bus station. The receptionist informed me there was only one room available on the top floor. He spoke softly, almost whispering,
"Remember to lock the door."
The room was plain, just a single bed, an old wall-mounted mirror, and a small window overlooking the dark backyard. I showered, ate some snacks I had brought, and tried to get some sleep. But as soon as I turned off the lights, the atmosphere changed. The wind howled outside, and I heard faint footsteps in the hallway. Although I had locked the door, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was standing just outside my room. Holding my breath, I listened intently. The footsteps stopped, and then there was a soft... My heart pounded. I got out of bed, approached the door, and called out.
Who's there?
No response. Suddenly, a chilling voice whispered directly behind me.
Don't open the door.
I spun around, but the room was empty. A cold sweat broke out on my back as my eyes locked onto the mirror on the wall. In the reflection, the room looked the same, except for a figure standing in the corner. I turned to look at the corner, but it was empty. When I looked back at the mirror, the figure was no longer in the corner. She was right behind me. I screamed and bolted out of the room, racing down the stairs. When I reached the front desk, the receptionist was still there, calm and unmoved.
You saw her, didn't you?
If you were the main character, would you dare to stay in that room overnight?